everyone, and welcome to this very special Matcha Talk with my incredibly talented husband, composer Jason White. I'm so excited to bring you this Matcha Talk with Jason. He is the show composer on Bad Day Kate and Kate's spinoff series, The Babies. You can hear his music on iTunes and SoundCloud. And he just finished scoring the powerful documentary, Getting Over, by filmmaker Jason Charnock. I'm so excited to share this time with Jason and our babies, Rico, Zen, Patty, and Bella. Jason is one of the most incredible, talented artists that I know. He inspires me every day, and working together with him is nothing but sheer joy. He is the light of my life and my true love. So everybody, grab your matchas and get ready for Matcha Talk with the amazing Jason White. Hello and welcome to Matcha Talk with my husband, Jason White, and the babies. There's Zen and Patty. And I think, where's Bella? There she is.
She's over there.
She's right
Rico,
over there.
Over here.
Oh, and there's my Papa Bear,
Yeah.
sitting all comfy and handsome.
I call this the studio / doggy daycare. As you can see, all the doggies they got their beds. Rico likes to lay under here. Well, they take turns when. I realized when I was working on music that they always like to sit at my feet, and so we got a bed and I put it under there, and then of course they keep bringing in more toys and stuff. Oh, I forgot I have a guitar I have to
Watch the matchas.
bring out here. Oh, I know.
Got our little matchas over
I
here.
have
Star Wars.
well, the studio would not be
Oh.
complete.
Ooh.
Except for bird.
Oh.
There you go.
Get you getting
Without
fancy.
birds, there you go. The bird over here. I just realized oh no, bird's not in there.
Mm-hmm. Let me get a shot of those guitars.
And I know this is so exciting.
This is-
Guitars out.
This is where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens
Stop.
with Jason White
Stop. Alright.
and the babies.
Yeah.
Boys,
Yeah.
matchas are not for pugs.
Well,
No.
they're just sniffing it, they're curious.
Matchas are not for pugs.
If you tried to give them that, they wouldn't eat it anyways, because
I
they
know.
wouldn't like it.
Pugs and matchas, that would be very interesting.
I don't really ever drink matchas that much. I know, oh my god, heaven forbid. But,
What?
hmm.
It's delicious.
It's good though, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's not bad.
So good.
It's not bad. So
good. I love it. I love your Han mug. It's amazing.
yeah, all my Star Wars stuff.
Mm-hmm. Got my matcha Leia mug right there. Okay.
All right. So what do you want to know? What do we do?
Well, I want to know. Well, I know because you're my husband, and we've been together for 20 years.
Almost, yeah.
Yes. So I want everyone to know about you. So, I know how incredibly talented you are and how long you've been doing music, and he's so humble. I love that about him. And like how you started, what got you inspired, kind of your background to share with everyone else. And, you're doing a lot of great things, a lot of great work right now, and you're also doing your own work, which I want to, to have you talk about, as well as kind of talk about some of the gear that you use, because, you've done those show themes for Bad Day Kate and the Babies, and you're doing a documentary as well. And so just kind of like what you use and tell everyone about you. So starting with your background.
I'll try to. Okay, that's a lot.
I asked.
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna have time to go over all the stuff.
Oh,
but
sure,
yeah, I don't. How did I get into music? Well, how I got into music, I always like to say there's different stories, and they're all true. So I'll try to do a kind of a condensed version. Well, my mom was a piano teacher when I was born, and so that's kind of like my very first memories is that I have is my mom kind of at the piano teaching people, teaching students and stuff. And that with the fact that my dad was really into, my dad's not a musician, but he's really into music. So like he was what you'd call like an audiophile, I guess. He used to collect records. We used to have a bunch of vinyl, and then when CDs came out, he was really into collecting CDs, and he listened to everything. So I grew up listening to a lot of music. But it's interesting. I'm still not a good piano player. I never really picked up the piano really well. And one of the reasons I kind of got more serious into music is, without making the sound super sad, when I was a kid, I wasn't very social, and I didn't have a lot of friends, and I didn't really feel particularly good at anything. I didn't feel like I was very good in school. I wasn't very smart. I just didn't have, I didn't latch onto something that I felt like, yeah, I was really good at that. And I saw kids be real good at sports or, whatever, or drawing or whatever that they did. And I even tried that. I was in the comic books to try drawing, but I was really okay. And I really wanted to be good at something. And I feel like I tried everything. My grandparents, when I was, I think I was 12 or maybe 13, they bought me a guitar. It was a silver Gibson Challenger. And they got it for me for Christmas. It was a real surprise because I wasn't even, it was not something I ever even thought about. And I knew very little about guitar. I was so dumb as a kid. I literally, first thing I thought when I got that guitar was, man, you gotta be really good because you have to hold this and play at the same time. I didn't even know that you had a strap, That's just how little I knew about it. And so, and I was just like, and then I was like, it took me like 5 minutes to figure out, oh, there's a strap. Yeah, great, duh. Because it was in the case, we got this little cheap little strap and stuff. And, but I really took that seriously. Like, I was really like, I was just so determined. I was so, at this point, I was kind of becoming a teenager, and I was just like, felt like I'm not gonna not be good at everything in my life, so I'm gonna be really good at this. And I remember like the very first guitar lesson that I had, my guitar teacher was like, what do you want to accomplish? And I remember seeing this poster of Randy Rhoads. And I just, to me, he represented like the best, I was like, this is the best. And I was like, I want to be the best guitar player. And he rolled his eyes and he thought it was super silly. And he even told my mom, like after a couple lessons, he told her, he said, save your money. The kid's never going to do music. Like he just doesn't have a knack for it. That's a true story. And, but that really made me more determined to work even harder at it. And it was
absolutely ridiculous. I just need to say that.
It's just the way people.
You're not alone in people being told that and becoming incredibly successful.
It can be inspiration for you to work really hard at something. And but really the catalyst for me was Steve Vai. Really, I got to see Steve Vai in concert when he played with David Lee Roth, and that was really like such a life-changing experience because I realized what was possible on the guitar. Because before that, the way I looked at guitar, I really looked at like guys like Joe Perry and blues rock guys, and I had still a huge, part of my music and stuff. And Gary Moore, I'm a huge fan of Jimi Hendrix and Carlos Santana, and but when I saw Steve Vai, I was like, man, this guy's from another planet. I remember he took his guitar off and he laid it on the stage and he played it like a piano. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it, and he just blew my mind. I just thought, wow, I'm gonna just practice 14 hours a day, and that's what I did. I just literally, I literally would sleep with my guitar. Like I would wake up in the morning, my guitar would be there, and I would get up and I'd just start practicing again. I would just practice all the time. I was just super serious about, and being antisocial pays if you want to be a good guitar player, because you just basically have to practice all the time. And in turn, you know, playing guitar led me to make friends and meet people, because people would go, oh, I heard you play guitar, and then you know, you play, and then you end up playing with them. Because I grew up in an area here in Georgia. This is all in Georgia when I went to high school, and there were so many people in my high school that played music, or they had parents that played music. We had a friend who played drums, his dad played saxophone, so we'd go over and just jam with them, and it was really cool. So so that's kind of how I got into music. That's basically that.
It's awesome. And your background, so you also went to the Atlanta Music.
Yeah, I went to the Atlanta Institute of Music. It was a great experience. Kicked my ass, because you go there feeling confident, and you're like, oh, I'm really good, like a lot of guitar players. And you see other guitar players that are like way better than you. And then you see the teachers, and the teachers just destroy everybody. Like, you could be the best kid at the first day that was just like shreds on the guitar. I remember one of my guitar teachers was a guitarist named Shane Terrio, who is the guitar player for the Neville Brothers and Leanne Rimes, and he's just an amazing player. And he wasn't much older than me when I went there. And I remember the first day, everybody in the freshman class saw him play. I think everybody that moment, no matter how confident they felt, at that moment were like, yeah, I completely suck. You know, like after seeing that guy, he was ridiculous. And it brought you to another level. It made you work hard, because you saw what was possible. Because when you listen to rock musicians, after a while, you learn you learn the technique, and you know, okay, I got to keep working at this technique. But you can listen to them, and you know, for the most part, you know what they're doing. You just maybe not have the technique to do it. When I would go to when I went to the Atlanta Institute of Music, I would listen to my teachers, and I had no idea what they were doing, because they were playing jazz, and I didn't know crap about jazz. And so I got into jazz, and I studied jazz, and I really put a lot of effort into that. I am not a great jazz musician by any means, but I took from that and kind of incorporated it into my own kind of like rock-based style. And but it was really eye-opening, because, you know, from a rock musician seeing jazz, you're just like, you just have literally no clue what's going on. You just can't even imagine it. When you listen to a saxophonist or a piano player play jazz, you know, you don't relate to it because it's a different instrument. When you see a guitar player do it, something you relate to, it's really freaky, because you're just like, man, I have what scales are you playing? I don't know. Is that a scale? I'm not really sure what is going on. And once you break that down, it's really awesome. That kind of, all those little lessons, those little things that you learn are like opening a door, and you can go through that door, and a whole other world is there, you know. And you don't have to live there. You can just take things from it and kind of go back to your own, which is cool. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So when I met you, and you know, I talk about love at first sight, and yes, everyone, it happens, and it's true, and it's real, because as soon as I saw you, I knew, right? I knew that you were my husband, and you were the other half of my soul. And you know, here we are 20 years later with our beautiful family.
Oh, yeah.
Zen came over to and there's Patty on the other end. They love it when Dad plays music. So
well, Bella really
does.
I think Rico is totally indifferent. Bella likes music.
She does.
And the Pug Brothers
now.
Yeah, they're Zen is a little more into it. You know, they
my baby.
They taught me something really interesting.
My inspiration.
Some dogs, I know the pugs for sure, they hear music in a very complex way. Maybe a little bit later I can show you, but in a second.
Absolutely.
But basically, they can tell the difference between different chords. Now, I would have never believed that. Like, you know, if someone would have told me that, I would have thought that there's more to it. But what's funny is every time I'm done playing guitar, I have this tradition. I always play this chord, and it's a really weird chord. maybe not to some people, but it's I call the chord, it's a major 7 sharp 11. So it's just a major 7 with a raised 4th, an octave up. I always play that chord in. I don't know why. I just like the way it sounds, and it's kind of like, it's like, when you chant.
Daimoku.
Yeah, you're doing Ganyo, you end with, Chancho, whatever. It's kind of like that thing. It's like a meditative thing, like you're ending this thing. And I always play that chord, and they know when I play that chord. If I play that chord in a song, they immediately hear it, and they think I'm done. They think we're done. And, but they know, and I can play that same type of chord. I could play an A major 7 sharp 11, nothing. I could play any other note, but if I play a G major 7 sharp 11, they know it. It's incredible. I filmed them, and it's an incredible thing that they know that chord. It's a very complex chord, and but they know that chord over any other chord, and that blew my mind. And they do sing sometimes. Zen used to sing when he was a puppy. He doesn't really anymore. Bella does sing if I'm in the other room with the amps cranking it up. Oh, by the way, I just sorry, your finger I think is about to go on the lens. Oh, sorry. Okay, I just
no, I'm good. I got it.
But yeah, Bella will sing. But so anyways.
So going back to when I first met you. Okay. So, and I was like, okay, so who is that gorgeous guy? Oh, wait, my husband.
Stop.
I have to embarrass him a little bit, a little shy. But you were playing electronic music, right? So you were doing a lot of electronica, and which, as you know, for me is, that I absolutely love, synths and synthesis and synthesizers and all of that amazingness.
But Mary really likes guitar, and I'll tell you, because when I met Mary, she had a Jimi Hendrix CD.
Yes, my Jimi Hendrix blues. That is correct.
At that time, I had never dated anybody that liked Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? That was really odd. And Mary, I said, you have a Jimi Hendrix CD? And she was like, of course, are you kidding me? He's the fucking best. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. It's all right.
Anyways, she was like, yeah, she's like, in fact, I was dating this guy, I had to break up with him because he didn't like Jimi Hendrix. And I just thought the biggest kick out of that. That was so funny.
Yes.
But yeah, I was like, oh God, she's good with me if she likes Jimi Hendrix. So.
Love my Jimmy. So, let's go back to when we met, right? So you were playing synths, and which was absolutely incredible, and you wrote me the most beautiful music, using all of these beautiful sounds, which are
it wasn't very much.
I know, and it's funny to think of like when you started and what you were using to what you're using now.
I had that keyboard, that guy right there.
That's right. I know.
That's all I had that and a couple other little things, but nothing major.
But what you created with that, Jason, and I think it was an old PC, was absolutely amazing. I mean, absolutely incredible.
I appreciate that.
Oh, and I was
we
like,
have a little 4-track a tape recorder.
Yep.
And if we recorded any guitar or vocals, we had 3. I sound like such an old person saying this, but we had 3 tracks. Well, no, I was an old person. When I was a young man, we had 3 tracks, and in one track, because the 4th track had to be for what's called SMPTE, which is like a code that you would synchronize the computer and the tape deck. So when you hit play on the tape deck, the computer would be synchronized with the tape deck, because we didn't have like.
I know.
You couldn't even burn a CD or anything. I had if I wrote any music. Like when I first met Mary, I wrote I think it was 4 songs. I gave it to her for her birthday. Yeah. And I had to give it to her on a little cassette tape.
It was amazing. I have it. I have the papers. He made me sit down, and he had written out, the song, and he would play the music.
Instrumental. Well, one was a vocal.
Right.
My friend Chase. Chase Allen sang on this one song.
Yes, he did. It was amazing.
So I wrote a little thing like the meaning behind the song. Or whatever.
Yes, you did. And I
was really into synthesizers.
oh my goodness, that was the most incredible, most romantic gift that I've ever gotten in my entire life. And literally, I think I just cried because it was just absolutely so beautiful and moving. And and that is why I'm so excited to do this with you, Jason, because you are really humble. You played electronica, you did synth pop, you've done jazz, you've done some blues, you're an incredible guitarist, which I'm gonna, have you do some jams and kind of show us what you've got in there. I caught Jason just for a couple of minutes yesterday and did a little bit of video. But what I want to know too, Jason, is like, and I ask artists, what inspires you, right? So like, for a piece of music, like, I'll tell you for Kate, I'll be like, okay, so this is what I'm looking for and this is what I want. And then the babies are going to be like this. And you literally, I was telling a musician, I said, he nails it every time. Like what I'm thinking, you knock out of the park. Like you are completely, perfectly just rock it out. So, but for you on your music, what gets you inspired when you come down to the studio and you think of something or you're having your coffee? Like what gets you inspired to write a beautiful piece of music like you've done?
Well, I think to do anything, not just write music, but to be creative, I think the key is to not think. Don't have an idea necessarily. It's hard to explain. The best thing is to, for me, is to do it right when I get up, because it's almost like when you get up, it's almost like you're new. It's hard to explain. Like you wake up and you're whatever you. And I'm sure there's an exception to this for some people, but like for me, it's like you're not really carrying a lot of stuff from the day before. So like for like a few moments, you're clear. When I wake up, I'm super groggy. So I'm not thinking of anything, and I'm like a glass that has nothing been poured into it yet. And that's the way I like to. Sometimes, as we all go through difficult things, you do carry things into the next day. That's horrible. But typically, you want to start fresh. And so what I like to do is just come down and just play whatever happens. Like, I try not to think about it. I try to just let ideas come to me instead of me trying to think about it. I think that's the best thing. And to also know when things aren't working. So like if you come down and it doesn't, and to be honest with you, 8 out of 10 times nothing's going to happen. Like you have 8 days, sometimes nothing can happen, and 2 days would be really great. But the thing is, you just want to come down and you just want to play something, and whatever comes out, you just go with it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's, like I said, a lot of times it's just awful. At the end you're just like, oh, it's awful, or you lose what it is. But it's almost as if like you have like this faint picture in your mind, and you're just trying to quiet yourself and let it kind of like unveil itself, and then as you kind of start seeing it put it together, and sometimes you get it and you build upon it, and sometimes you get ideas, you're like, oh, but what if I did this, and what if I did that, and then you have something I think is more inspired, instead of like trying to overthink it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key that you said, is not overthinking it and just writing, getting in there, just playing, doing what you're doing, and then eventually you start creating something really awesome.
Yeah, it's just like I've had people ask me, they'll say, well, how did you come up with this, or how did you think of this, or like especially lyrics, like if you write lyrics, like what do the lyrics mean? I have literally no idea. Like they're just words that come into my head, and I just write them down, and they don't really mean anything. It means something to someone who listens to it, I guess. But what I've learned is that if you're gonna do like what I call a tech day, which is like if I get new samples and I have to like sort them and I need to like get them all ready to be worked into my template, like that's generally a day that's not going to be creative because you're using a different part of your mind. I kind of believe, this is just my own personal belief, that that creative thing that you like that comes from some other place is really a part of your brain. It's like a muscle, you know, and it kind of conflict. It can't really work with the other parts, you know, so much. It's like if I'm doing a techie thing, you know, my brain gets into that mode, and it's like I'm kind of wired like that for the rest of the morning. And it's really hard to get out of that and go back to just being creative and open. Because the truth is, when you're creative, you for me, I'm not like some musicians and some composers I've seen are incredible. They can sit down and just come up with something so quickly, and I'm awful at that. It takes me a long time, and so because I like to try things, and it's almost like I have to let it happen to me instead of me doing it. I have to be quiet and just let it kind of go, and it's kind of like meditating a little bit. Like you just want to relax, have no tension, no thoughts, let that part of your mind kind of start. And once you're in the zone, the nice thing about being able to do this professionally, which, you know, hopefully one day I will be able to do, once you do it full time, you can kind of get in the zone and you can keep going. Because when you're doing other things and you have other things in your life, it's like it's hard to stay in that part. It's hard to kind of like keep that part of your brain active, because you really need it. Sounds so silly, but you really need it to do it. At least for me, that's how I do it. It's just, you know, because it's like your mind is amazing. You know, it takes everything.
Yes,
in.
it is.
It takes, you know, it learns so much. So like as you watch a movie, you experience life, you taste something, you hear something. These things kind of get in your mind, and there's like part of your brain that can kind of interpret them in an artistic way. And so that's the point. The part I try to strive to get to is to let that process happen naturally and not force it. I mean, sometimes you hear a thing and you just know. Sometimes the way something sounds, like the tone of it, I'm really into the way things sound as much as I am into the actual music. And I think it's from my dad. My dad wasn't a musician, but he was really into the way things sounded. And he'd always sit down and be like, listen to the way this sounds, and listen to the way this sounds. And he'd always want to point out things like from Queen, or, you know, the Cars, or the Beatles, or he'd always be like, listen to this really, you know, closely. And, you know, I'm really into the way things are recorded and the tone of it. And the tone is something that can really inspire me. You know, I can play on a great guitar sound and that will inspire me. I can play on a great piano sound and it will inspire you. So sometimes, especially if you're in a rut creatively, like good sounding things can really make a difference. And we honestly, musicians live in a they're fortunate to be alive at this time, because we have such amazing tools created by artists. And that is something I want to point out, is that all the equipment that musicians use, I look at it as a partnership. Even if I work alone in this room, I'm never working by myself, because everything that is made in this room was made by groups of people who are truly artists in their own right. And if it wasn't for their art, I wouldn't be able to do mine. And it's an incredible thing, you know, especially when I'm doing scoring, because I'm using samples that were conceived and put together by a group of people. They were recorded by a group of people, and they were actually played by musicians. And all of those people together, it's like we're all working together to create a piece of music. It's not just me, right? And not me just doing it. It's like, and I get inspired by the performances, the way that they sound, the place they were recorded in, you know, and it that can do a lot for you, especially if you kind of know what something feels like, because I always go by feelings first, so it's like I know what something feels like more than I know what it sounds like, and sometimes I'll just go through a sound and it just captures it right away, and you're just like, wow, that's amazing, it's exactly what I need. Because really, when you're scoring and you're writing music for a picture, it really is about emotion. You know, you're really writing the emotion of what is going on in that moment. Even if it's not obvious. Sometimes it's a composer's job to find the emotion that may not be there on the surface, you know, that may be something underneath it, and it gives it more depth. You know, and a composer also needs to know when he needs to like step back, or he or she needs to step back and let whatever's happening happen too, you know. But it's awesome. It's in the same thing with working with a filmmaker. You work with a filmmaker, it's a collaboration, you know. It's not just them doing the pictures, you're doing the music. It's everything, you know. Musicians kind of have this bad habit of finding the golden thing, you know, like you know, this it's all in the hands, you know, like guitar players like to say, or it's like, or you have to have this specific guitar or the specific pick, and the truth is, it's all of those things. So when you're working on any piece of music, it's literally everything. It's the you know, people say it's all about the rhythm section, and the rhythm section is incredibly important, but every part is important. Everything from the bass player to the types of strings that he has, to the bass, to the cable, to the microphones, to the preamp, to everything you use, everything is like a balance. And it's like cooking, really. You know, you put the ingredients by themselves can be great. Ingredients together, done in the inappropriate way, can taste horrible, you know, or too bland. And it's all about knowing that it's all important, and that, you know, when I work on a film, or I'm scoring anything, I'm not thinking, oh, you know, this is the important thing, this is the important thing. I think everything. I work together with the sound, which I work together with the editing, I work together with the director's vision. You know, it's all going together to basically be on the same page.
Absolutely. And I love that, because it is about the collaboration of, you know, all these different artists in all of these different areas. Whether it be film or television, or whether you're doing animation or live action. And music is definitely a character in all of those. I mean, it truly is an important part of it, and it emits a feeling. And you're absolutely right. It's the story that's being told, you know, through music, where, you know, the characters are there, but then when you add the music, it's a completely different feeling.
Well, music can sometimes be like the emotion of the scene, but it can also be like a character.
Absolutely.
In Star Wars, I almost feel like John Williams' music is such an integral part of that film that it's almost like if you didn't have a main character in it, you know. If you didn't have that, it definitely wouldn't be Star Wars, you know.
Absolutely.
It's as equally as important as Darth Vader, you know. Like you know, in fact, Darth Vader, I don't think would have been Darth Vader without it. But again, you can't just have John Williams' music and then no Darth Vader. You know,
it all works
you can't
together.
Have, you know, you can't have Darth Vader without James Earl Jones. You can't have Darth Vader without the people without Ralph McQuarrie. You can't have Darth Vader without, you know, the people who made the costume and all that stuff. So it all goes together. And
right.
I think that's the thing to keep in mind, is that you're a small part of a bigger whole, and that's like, again, like all the things that I use, I'm always so amazed by the people who make this stuff. It's incredible.
I'm so excited that you said that, because that segues to. All right, so we're back, and Patty has woken up from his nap, and he's joining us.
Tired, though. He's still tired.
He is. It's been a rough day of tennis ball and relaxation. So yeah,
he's my baby.
Yeah.
Boy. I love him so much.
So and then Zen and Bella are also. It's been a rough day of play and treats. So tell me, what are we gonna look at right now? What are you gonna show us?
Well, I was gonna show you a little bit. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of just show you, like, I think this is the final theme for the babies, but I'm not 100% sure.
the baby.
So I was gonna kind of play it, and I was gonna break down like the
awesome
little bit, just kind of show you like what it looks like.
Right.
So this is like a really, really simple score.
Okay.
There's not, and I apologize, my organization's not super great. I kind of threw this together. This was one of those moments I was talking about where you just like, I was just coming down and I kind of had a vague idea of what I wanted to do, and then I kind of just did it quickly. So it's not organized super well in any kind of a template because I was just throwing instruments in as I got ideas. But so I'll play the track, and then hopefully it's not too loud. I'll turn it a little bit.
It won't be too loud.
And then I'll show you like how it sounds. I'll break some of it down so you can kind of hear the individual things. But here's the theme. I think this is the final version, but I'm not 100%.
You don't even know. Like, I'm like smiling from ear to ear because I just see the babies. Oh yeah, and they know my muses.
I'll play a couple things.
Angels.
So the
yes.
So I have a couple things in here. The main thing is kind of like the drums. So if you hear the drums in the beginning, I'll play them by themselves.
Okay.
And it's really simple. Like all the parts really simple. And when you bring them together, it sounds like a lot more is going on than it really is, you know. But the beat is just like, it's like a 60s beat, you know. I really wanted to go for this 60s sound. And then the bass line I have is a Fender jazz bass, and I actually didn't play it on my jazz bass. I actually used a plug-in called Trillion, and I basically played it on the keyboard. But it sounds really good, so here I'll play that here. Now, by itself, it sounds, the way I played it, you know, I could have played it a little bit better, but it sounds a little fakey. But when you hear it with everything, I think it comes out really good. So you put the drums in with it. That initial sharp attack of the bass, that by itself, I think to me sounds a little fakey. When you put it with the drums, it actually allows it to cut a little more. And that's the main thing. Again, it's not about something sounding good all by itself. It's about it sounding right all together. So anyway, so that's that.
Oh, it's perfect together.
Now the main melody for the babies, I wanted it to be I wanted fuzz guitar in there. So I recorded, I mic'd up my amp that's in the other room with my fuzz pedal that my wife bought me for her. I can't remember I think it was a birthday or something, but it's one of my favorite pedals. It's got like a normal setting, and it's got like the setting of doom, which me and my friends who I jam with, we just absolutely love it. It's incredible. But I use the normal setting, and this is that little part. It's super simple.
Awesome.
Super simple, but sometimes it's the best. And then I doubled that with Rhodes. And then to kind of add that kind of 60s soundtrack feel, I added some strings, and I'll play it and some flute. You always have to have flute, of course. And so let me go up here and I'll play a little bit of the flute. So there's two flute parts, and the first one is a piccolo. Real staccato. And then I have another piccolo that does this higher part. And when they double together, so I'll play the top part here. It just does just accents, you know, because certain notes you kind of want to like stand out. So when I play those together. So those are flute parts. And then I wanted some brass in there because brass just sounds really, you know, it adds excitement, I think, to pieces of music. So I had a little bit of brass in here. Just stabs. It's a trumpets and I think it's brass trumpets and bass drums. And then, of course,
so fantastic.
I have crescendos at the end. And then, lastly, you got some strings in here. Let me put some strings in. I got 2 sets of strings. Oh, I have a crescendo string at the end here too. And so when you put the strings, the swell in there, got that. You got the brass, got some flute, and I'll do this. This is without the electric instruments.
It's just so perfect.
Yeah, I think that's like a,
so perfect.
It's like a minor 6 chord.
It's baby approved.
But anyways, so yeah, then all these. And I'll show you one last thing. There's a ton of processing at the end that I do. One of the things, you know, again, music is an incredibly important part, but the other part of it is how it sounds. And so this is, I'll turn off all, I have everything on what's called the master bus, which is basically everything mixes down to 2 channels, and this is without any processing at all. So. I'll start adding it in. And it adds, it kind of allows it to be obviously much louder without being squashed. And so, you know, like I was saying earlier, musicians, they have it pretty good today. And I didn't, you know, Mary can tell you, like when we first met, you didn't have anything like this, you know. It was incredible. It's incredible that you can do what you can do. Basically, all these are digital recreations of actual analog hardware, and they actually model everything down to the actual circuit. They're very, very accurate, and basically what I do is I run everything depending on, and I treat them just like real analog hardware. So I kind of think like if I had this analog hardware, if I was in a studio with all this gear, and I was doing a particular type of music, what would I pick? So I picked out a lot of old pieces of gear, like a Pultec, Fairchild, and I basically run, this is an equalizer, compressor, very old, beautiful sounding, and I kind of do that to kind of warm it up a little bit, and I print everything onto tape. This is basically a virtual tape machine, so I record to the tape, and then I EQ it using the Manley, which Mary and I both love the Manley. We
Very
use
much.
the Manley Massive Passive on all the voices on Bad Day Kate. It is it was so funny because a lot of times when because I buy a lot of plugins, trying to explain to my wife why we need to spend X amount of dollars on another plugin, and she's very supportive, but you know, sometimes
Always.
she's like, wow, okay. But when I remember when I had a demo of this, and it was not cheap. And I remember we tried it on your vocals, and you were like, "What is that you just put on my vocals?" And I was like, "That's Massive Pass." And she's like, "Do we own that?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "We have to buy it right now." And I was like, "Well, it's this much. I don't care. We need it. We need it." And
It's
I was
amazing.
like, "Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. You finally get to experience what I experienced, which is like, I need this."
Right.
It is amazing. I use it
Yeah.
on everything. I always put it generally at the end to kind of just do that fine little. You know, if it's too much bass or it needs a little more highs or something, just putting audio through it adds magic to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very last thing is I use this called the Invisible Limiter. It's an incredible plugin. It allows you to basically make everything louder without distorting. And on the Babies theme, I wanted to keep a lot of headroom. I didn't want to limit it, and it's basically, that's what it is a limiter, which is to say it will limit the audio from going past a certain point. You can kind of abuse it, and they do a lot in popular music where they just make it really loud without distorting, and what happens is that you lose dynamics, you kind of lose, I don't know, like a naturalness to the instrument. So I didn't want to do that. So if you watch this, like I'm only pushing it like a little over 1 dB, which is pretty amazing. I'm able to get tons of volume. I'm not really clipping it too bad, and I'm not squashing it too bad, and it sounds great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so so that's kind of a breakdown of like one little thing. You know, and it's funny because when you hear all those individual pieces of a score, you know, sometimes, you know, it's hard to understand how it works as the whole, but you always have to think, does it sound good with everything together, you know? That's something that as a guitar player I learned, and a lot of guitar players learn when they start recording themselves, is like you'll work really hard to get this great guitar tone, and then you go to record it and it sounds horrible. And the reason that is because your guitar sounds good to you by itself, but it doesn't actually fit in with the frequencies of all the other instruments. So you always have to kind of think about that, is like make sure that you're thinking of the big picture always in the back of your mind.
So show me some of the other stuff that you have as well. So thank you so much for sharing the Babies, Jace, because that literally, I know. I can't help but like be smiling from ear to ear, because they
he
literally
really is my baby boy.
are the light of my life. What's happening right now? This is the pug life right now. He's just like totally chilling.
He's so tired.
I got my beautiful Cheese over here with my puggy, and then of course Papa's underneath. And what I want to know is like, ooh, wow, okay, that woke everybody up.
My micro isn't working. I don't know why, but.
So we got some of your gear here, right? So, but I want to kind of walk through. So thank you for sharing all of that. Show me some of the other goodies that you have in your guitars and amps and all that great stuff.
Yeah, well, I have, I'm fortunate enough to have some very nice guitars.
Beautiful.
And, I guess my favorite two, hands down, are these two guitars. And the one on the left is called, affectionately called Les. That was my first Les Paul. I bought that in Los Angeles. It was sitting in a store for years. Yeah, nobody was interested in buying it. The guys who worked at the store, that was their favorite guitar, and they played the crud out of it, wore down the frets and everything. They're still worn down from that. But basically, I knew I had a coworker in LA that really liked Les Pauls, and I played his, and it just kind of got me thinking about it, and I was like, I want to buy Les Paul. So
We did.
We did, yeah. And I remember
waited for you.
I played every Les Paul in that store.
Yeah.
I had them all set up, and I went down there multiple times. But this is the guitar. The first guitar I saw was this guitar. That's the one I fell in love with. But I wanted. It was. You know, at the time, it was hands down the most expensive thing I ever bought, and I was really wanting to make sure that it was the right thing. And I even brought my neighbor down there. I brought Mary down there. And Mary was like. They all sound like guitars, you know, she was like, fine, you like this one, get this one.
No, I mean, I knew that Les was special and really beautiful. I mean, it really was, and it was amazing that, you know, it was there for so long and waited for you. And
Yeah.
right next to it is the
Well,
amazing Georgia.
Yeah, and this is a guitar that, that my wife, was amazing, and she bought me this. I had just bought, it's even crazy to tell the story. I just bought a new guitar. I had bought Firebird, which is the guitar I was just putting on a stand earlier.
This beautiful.
And I named that one Bird, and I really love that guitar. And
it is.
I've always wanted a
incredible
Firebird, and I found a good one, and it was like a really good deal. And I actually bought it online. I never played it. Is one of the few times I ever actually bought an instrument online without trying it. But which is actually very cool. If you ever want to buy a guitar, I think buying online is actually a really cool way to do it because you can see the weight. And anyways, I had just bought that guitar, and we had to go to the store because I needed to get stuff to change the strings. I had to clean the fretboard, and I needed some new, just accessories to kind of clean it up. And we went into the store, and this guitar was hanging on the wall, and I was really, I was blown away, of course. And I told Mary, I said, hey, check this out, because this is as close to a vintage Les Paul as you will ever see. You probably will never see a real vintage Sunburst Les Paul in person. And I was like, this is amazing. I was just admiring it as a work of art, really. And they're outrageously expensive, and it's something that I would never think about. And one of the salespeople that worked at the store was like, hey, you should try this guitar. And I was like, no, I need to just get my stuff and we need to go. And he was like, no, man, you play it. And Mary was like, no, you should play the guitar. And I was like, no, it's good. Like, why do I need to play this guitar? I'm not going to buy it. I mean, obviously. And so I played the guitar, and Mary's like, hey, do you like this guitar? And I'm like, that's crazy. Of course. Yeah. Was there not? I mean, it's a 58 reissue. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's perfect in every way. It's incredible. Yeah, sure. She's like, we should buy it. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. I just bought a guitar. I didn't even need that guitar. I don't definitely need another guitar. So we left, and Mary just kept thinking about it, and she was just convinced that was supposed to be my guitar.
Absolutely.
And so she bought it, and it was the same kind of deal with the other Les Paul, which is weird. They had it for years. It had been gone from music store to music store. They couldn't sell it, and they were trying to get rid of it for new guitars. So they sold it at a ridiculous price to Mary. I could have turned around and immediately sold it and made
but it's
almost
not
50% of what you paid for it.
I know.
Right away.
No way. That guitar is
well.
so
I'm just saying, like, it was amazing that worked out. And
of course.
Yeah. So and it is literally it is really honestly perfect. The difference between those two, because they're so different in so many ways. The only thing they have in common is they're Les Pauls, but really don't sound anything alike. Les is completely, almost everything on the guitar has been changed by me. The tuners have been changed, the pickups have been changed several times, the pots have been changed, the capacitor's been changed, the bridge has been changed, almost everything on that guitar has been changed and customized by me to fit my playing
style, right?
And Whereas Georgia, when I got Georgia, and that's what I named the guitar Mary got me.
Love that
when
guitar.
I got Georgia, it was so perfect that I was terrified to change anything. And that's I haven't. I changed the strings and that was it. I don't change the height of the bridge. I don't change the tailpiece. I haven't changed the truss rod. And that's very unlike me because when I get a guitar, the first thing I do is I take all the strings off. I change the neck pitch, which is adjust the truss rod. I adjust the pickups. I change things in those guitars, and that guitar is no way. It was so perfect. I actually tried to change. I use a different gauge of string than the guitar came with a heavier gauge string than I normally play, and I changed it to the gauge that I play, and I had immediately take them off. It was not the same, and I've never experienced that before. Georgia has a very pure tone to it. It really lets out. I don't know, you can almost hear your fingers on the strings kind of thing. All Gibsons do that to a certain extent, but it's an amazing, amazing guitar, and they're very, very different. Georgia's more kind of I hate this word, but I don't know the word for it. Guitarists always use the word woody, you can hear the wood in the guitar, but it has that sound. It's a lot less. It's not as loud. It's a little quieter. It's a little more soulful. It's a little more about the tone of the guitar and not necessarily about the tone of the amp. Whereas Les is really high output, and Les is the best guitar I've ever had for playing a lot of gain. A lot of guitar players want a lot of gain, but I hate it because the tone never comes through. Les has this ability of being able to cut through a lot of gain and still have a lot of tone. They're both amazing. Les weighs about as much as a boat anchor, so it's very uncomfortable to play standing up for a long period of time. And Georgia's a lot lighter. So Georgia is really comfortable playing when I'm standing up and stuff. But they're both they're...
I'm going to segue over
best,
here to my precious little Supernova right there by Novation, which I love with all my heart.
Is it going to end up being I got to cut it off at some point.
Synth workshop, right? Synth workshop with Jason White. Right, that's going to be another. This Mary, people.
Mary is very unusual for all of the guys I've ever known. Their wives are, if they're into the music, they're into the music, but they're never into the gear. Mary's really into the gear.
I'm very into gear. Yeah. Yes, I am.
It's very unusual.
Yes.
We go to NAMM and people are like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry he made you come." And she's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh my God. Yeah, I live in the synth area, of NAMM.
But this is my rack stuff. I got an old tape deck here that I used to have back in the day. This is actually the tape deck I used to record your cassette on.
Yep, I know.
Mesa Boogie, I love their amps, so this is something I really love. We found
love
this
the
used
Mesa
in LA. There's a guy that was selling it. He had it literally new in a storage facility because when he had bought it in the 90s, he had bought two. One he used on tour, and one he had as a backup, and he never used the backup. So I ended up buying this. It was literally brand new when I bought it.
It was incredible condition. Took care of it.
ADA, I used to have one of these when I was a kid. It got stolen from me in LA. And I found another one on eBay, so I bought it. This one doesn't work sometimes. I don't know why. It just doesn't want to turn on.
It's temperamental.
Some gear is that.
And wait, what's this guy down here?
This is, I have to really censor myself because I could go on forever about this.
Right.
This is a Dream Maker box. This is made by Fractal Audio Systems. If anybody watching this is a guitar player and they don't know about it, oh my gosh, please go check them out. This was recommended to me, Fractal was recommended to me by a guitar player that Mary and I know named Eddie Wright. He is an incredible musician, super nice person, and literally the best taste of anyone musically I've ever met.
It's a gear aficionado.
I get into trouble with Eddie. This guitar cable I bought is $180. That's because it.
But it's amazing.
I would have never done that before. I thought that was stupid. But
you had to have that.
He is not wrong. I cannot tell you. He is generally right. The AX8 is basically a digital amp. It basically recreates the sound of an amplifier, guitar cabinets, microphone, effects, everything you would have in a guitar rig. It recreates that digitally. Now, this is not a new concept. This is something that's been happening for years, and I have probably owned almost every version of a guitar digital processor of some sort. And I have always been let down. I've never been happy, and I've kind of resigned to the fact, and it even goes all the way back to when I very first started playing guitar. I remember when I got my first guitar pedal that wasn't analog, how much I really disliked it. I've always been really picky about digital things with guitar. And really the first digital guitar, anything I ever really loved was an Eventide, and then followed by Strymon, who I love Strymon. Mm-hmm. I'm like an uber Strymon fan. But Eddie was telling me about Fractal, and as much as I trust him, as much as I have faith in him, because he's an incredible musician, you know, great taste and everything he's told me has been right, I just was skeptical. I just thought, there's no way that I'm gonna like another digital, what they call modeler. I just thought, there's just no way. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna sound as good as my amps. It's not gonna sound as good as my amps with a microphone. It's gonna be a lot of struggling and a lot of tweaking and all this jazz. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Eddie has the Axe effects. He has one of these too, I'm sure. But when I heard about the AX8, two things that really sold me on it. One was the price. It was about half the price of an Axe effects, which I was really scared to spend that much money on something that I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna like, which again I was wrong. But I bought the AX8, and it was also in a pedal board format, which was really important to me because I really wanted something that I had control over, and it also had, I know this is so silly, but it had knobs. The Axe effects didn't have the knobs, but I really liked the knobs. Anyways, it integrates with my computer, and I have software on here that I can run and literally edit everything on the computer, and it talks to this. I don't think I've ever been so impressed with something as far as music gear in my life. It is an incredible, incredible piece of gear. It sounds exactly like a guitar amp being recorded. And that's what it's primarily aimed for. It's not there to sound like you're playing on an amp next to it in the room. You would want a guitar amp for that. Right. But the truth is, what pretty much everyone listens to is a recording, or if you go live and you see a band play live, the audience is never hearing the actual guitarist through the amp. They're hearing the guitarist through a PA. They're hearing the guitarist through their speakers. They're not really hearing the actual amp. And what this does is recreate that sound exactly. And in fact, I would argue in some ways it can actually be better because the person who designs this guy named Cliff, he has literally allows you to go in and edit and change anything you could possibly want about an amp. It's like getting in there and like opening it up or rewiring it, changing the tubes and changing the circuit yourself. It's incredible. It's kind of scary at first because you don't know what you're doing. Thankfully, it's all digital, so you're not going to hurt yourself. But it'll teach you about amps. It'll teach you about how they work, which is really cool. It's a great educational tool. But I cannot tell you how much in love with the AX8 I am. It is
incredible.
It changes everything, and this is definitely the future. There's no doubt. When I played this for the first time, I was like, okay, this is the future. I will always love playing through an actual guitar amp. It's just something romantic about it. And I have some great guitar amps, but
yes, you do.
But the AX8 is, if you've never checked it out, definitely do it. It's incredible. Every day I'm inspired when I play through it. It allows every guitar I have to sound good. That's something that a lot of guitar players kind of understands. Like, you have a guitar, you really love it, you plug into an amp, it just doesn't work with the amp. So then you're on the look out for an amp that works with this guitar, or you're trying to find this combination of stuff. Which this just, you plug it in. You don't like something, change to a different amp, change to a different preset. Try changing your settings. You will get it to work and sound. Every guitar will sound great in this. It's incredible. So
Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for listening to me ramble on.
Oh my gosh! Of course, we're gonna have Gear Talk with Jason White. That's Zen just woke up. He's like, did somebody say gear talk?
Yeah, I tried to get my little, I don't know, my synth I was going to put, because Zen likes this little thing, but it doesn't.
So and we're gonna wrap it up with that little string that you do for the babies that gets them like all excited to know. But before we do, I want to know obviously what fills your cup, right? What you give to yourself, because as a musician, for your creativity, what nurtures it, right? So what is that for Jason? Like, what fills your cup so you can then give it to us, to give it to your music, and to your family?
It's gonna sound incredibly cheesy, but it's just love, really. That's it, is love. Love. My family is everything, really. But love really is the best thing, when you can share that with not just other people, but the reason I love animals is they really naturally do just give love, and it's
Yes, they do.
That to me is my thing, that's what I think it makes you want to get up in the day, get up in the morning, get up early, kind of seize the day. Is just that that feeling of that that people care about you, and that you care, or you care about them, and you care about things, because otherwise, then what's the point, really?
Absolutely. I love you. You're amazing.
I love you.
I love you.
So I'll play the little thing.
Well, hold on. So, because, and also I want to know, like, so what other things can you, like, what are you working on? Like, what other things are you inspired to work on? Is there some synth piece? Is there some jazz piece? Is there maybe a future blues? Like, what's in the future for Jason White?
I don't know. I'm working on a film. Jason Charnick, who I'm sure you'll talk to. He,
absolutely.
Made a really, really powerful documentary.
Yes.
About his father, and about his relationship with his father. It's really great. And so that I'm finishing up, and I'm really happy with that.
It's beautiful.
That I have to say was a really being asked to do that was an amazing gift to me, because when you work on something, it pushes you to go in a direction that the music I wrote for that I would have never written by myself. Do you know what I mean? I would have never written that, and now that I have, I've added that. It literally created a new language for me. And so I don't know. I want to work with I want to record stuff with my friends. I have a good friend that I work with who's an amazing singer, who I want to do a project with, because I sing, but I don't like my voice, and I want
You're an amazing singer.
No. So I want to work with people. I love working with singers that are great, but I just want to do a lot of music. I think we live in a time where you don't have to do anything. You just do whatever you want.
Just create.
And you just put it up there. I want to do a lot more composition. I want to do a lot more orchestral pieces. And I'd like to incorporate, I don't want to give too much away right now, but I have an idea for some stuff. But
yes. And stay tuned for more music of Jason's on Kate and the Babies, which I'm super, super excited about. And Jason, before you play that last chord to wrap up our matcha talk, I want to know one piece of something inspiring that you could give other artists or other young artists that are out there, something that you can share with them that maybe is a valuable lesson or something that you've learned. Maybe they're a little nervous to put their music out there, or they're just listening to you to get inspired. What can you share with them?
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask that question, because I'm a very, very, very insecure person, and I don't know.
Wow.
I am.
That's inspiring
just,
within itself,
yeah,
because you're doing so much.
I've always, well, the one thing I've learned a long time ago is really fight against letting fear make decisions for you.
Yes.
Because I've done that way too many times in my life. To be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for Mary, we wouldn't be together, because I would have been too afraid to talk to her. You know.
Crazy.
So that is the kind of thing, like, something you don't take a chance on could have affected my life in a very, very negative way.
You know that I would have went right after you.
So
that would have definitely
happened. I think
happened.
that you just can't let fear make those decisions. Like when we wanted to adopt Rico, you know, my initial thought was, oh, you know, all the reasons, like we shouldn't adopt the dog, and you know, but when I got home after seeing Rico for the first time, I knew I loved him. You know,
oh gosh, it's our baby.
And I knew I wasn't gonna let all those negative thoughts, those fearful thoughts, keep that from me. You know, I was like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. You know, and struggling to do that. And there's a great musician named Eric Whitaker who he talks about failure a lot, and he always talks about how you know, you really want to kind of embrace failure. You know, welcome failure. You know, and I look at Eric as somebody that I look at as a mentor, you know, because he's just he's a great speaker, he's a great musician, and I really find what he has to say inspiring, and it's true, you know, don't be afraid to fail, because you can just try again tomorrow, and you can learn from it, and you know, you can always get better every day, you know.
And grow.
Yeah, some days I get discouraged. Some days I just feel like, oh God, I've been playing for 30 years now, and I feel like I can't play at all. And then some days you're like, no, I feel like I'm doing okay, and you just want to keep moving it forward, you know. Because if you just stop, well, you might, you know, then what else is there? You know what I mean? Life moves forward. You got to move forward with it.
Absolutely. And I always say, fear and doubt will be with you always. You just tell them to get in the back and that you're not paying attention to them. Because you're absolutely right. Your creative voice is what's most important. And if you don't share it, then, you know, you're doing a disservice to everybody else who's really going to find joy from that. And Jason, I have to say, you truly are the most amazingly inspiring person, and you're the love of my life, and you inspire me every day in every area. You and my babies are the light of my life and my beautiful family. And thank you so much for sharing.
To the end of this long ass video.
Oh, I know they have. I know they have, because I could keep filming and filming. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And so play that last chord, and we're going to do the wrap up.
So. Right? See, Patty heard it.
Zen's like crashed out. Hi, Patty.
Right? Nothing. See, he knows it.
Perfect.
Zen's crashed out. He's too tired.
Aw, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for joining your wife on Matcha Talk. I love you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful episode of Matcha Talk with my incredibly talented husband, Jason White. I'm so excited to share Jason's story with you and to have spent some time with Jason in the studio and introducing you to our babies, the light of our lives, Rico, Zen, Patty and Bella. It is nothing but sheer joy to be able to work, collaborate, and get inspired by my incredibly talented husband. It is nothing, there are no words to express what it's like to be able to share in your ideas, get feedback, get inspired by the love of your life. So you got to share a little bit of that time with us, and you'll be able to view Jason's music on iTunes and SoundCloud, on Matcha Talk's guest page, and you'll also be able to hear Jason's powerful score on the documentary Getting Over by filmmaker Jason Charnick. So everybody, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and give me a like. And to stay in the know for upcoming inspiring guests of Matcha Talk, go ahead and follow and like Matcha Talk's Facebook page. So everyone, until next time, grab your matchas and remember, do what you love and love what you do.